You.
Oh, thank you very much. She's very efficient. She actually unmuted me and I muted myself back. So there we go. Anyway, welcome to another show of All for One. I'm William Conway here with my cohorts, Dale Lansky, Gail Morton, and Cheryl Guess. This is such a wonderful time. We love coming here on Wednesdays to be able to talk with you and just to have discussions, and it's just a wonderful time. So what I'd like to do now is just open us up to this next hour, this next community of sharing. So just relax and allow your chair, couch, barca lounger, whatever it is you're sitting on, just allow it to support you and feel that support and recognize that support as nothing less than spirit. And so this is what I know right here and right now, that yes, there is only one infinite life in the universe. It is universe. It is life. It is love, peace. It is harmony. It is the allness and essence of everything in existence. And I recognize my oneness with that divine power, that creative urge that created all is the same power that is within me, and I recognize it as the same power within everyone. And so right here and now, I open this space up so that we may learn, we may grow, but more importantly, we may share and meet, and we may create connection with those around us. Even though, or better yet, as others have different views of life, I am open to that diversity, to that other way of seeing things, knowing that it expands my own consciousness, my own awareness of all life. And for that, I am so very grateful. I recognize this day as a gift, and I cherish it. Every single moment of this day, I am present in thought. I am aware of the divine connection within myself to all. And so as I open this forum up, I do so in gratitude, knowing that what needs to be shared is shared and what needs to be heard is heard. I just love that. It causes me to center myself. And so as I do that, I release my word to the law and as the law, knowing it is done perfectly. And together we say, and so it is. Well, good morning, everyone. Today, Dale is going to be at the helm of this wonderful ship called All for One. And our question today, as soon as I can get my phone, it just switched off on me. Isn't that wonderful how universe, here it is, I've got everything perfectly down, and the universe goes, okay, William, let's have some fun. So here's the question, and it's a great question. What is something new you have learned about yourself? Well, I can multitask now. I know that sounds funny, and I know that I still have a lot to learn about that, but over the past few days, I've had to have my hands and fingers in so many different little pots. Usually I'm the type of person that gives, I have one task and I do it, boom, done. Then it's the next task, boom, done. But for the past few days, I've had to come up with a schematic, a rendering of what we have to do here at the center as we move forward in opening up this space. But I have my own business and my own work that I have to do. And that is with multiple customers and multiple clients. So here I am with 5 or 6 different jobs, juggling, giving time to each as I can. And I find that it is exciting. Sometimes I drop a ball, but that's okay. But I love the fact that I'm able to multitask. And it's a hard thing, but it's a wonderful thing to learn about myself. So next, we're going to have Cheryl and see what her thoughts are.
So what's something new I've learned about myself? I thought about that one. And there's several things, but I guess I went through most of my life just believing that, I was good with, I had good computer skills, and I for a long time. It developed over a period of time, and I'm self-taught completely, but I just learned these things. But I never thought of myself as being creative. I know that sounds funny because, like William, he's an artist, and several of my friends are artists, and I'm just not an artist. And I thought, oh well, I've got my health, I got my finances, I got my relationships. I'm 3 out of 4. I'm good, So, but if you're going to do the 4 pillars of your life, you can't have one pillar that's not standing up. You've got to keep that balance in your life everywhere. And so I have a job now where, not currently right now, I'm doing something totally different that's totally computer skills, but it allowed me to start exploring my creativity, and something that I just never saw myself as that type of person. And I have had so much fun discovering my creativity, and creating things for the resort where I work, and creating parties for people, and creating activities, and creating things that, I just never would have thought that this would be my forte, but it absolutely is. I adore my job. I adore what I do. And it's because now I just feel completely balanced in my life. I have fabulous relationships with my friends. I cherish each and every one of them, all 3 of you and all of you here, everyone here. But I just, that was just such an eye-opener for me, to realize that I am creative, but not in the traditional sense. I can't paint, I can't play the piano, I can't, do music or anything like that, but I can create fun, and I just love doing it. So that was where I was really learned something new about myself. So now I'm going to pass it to Gail Morton.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I sure am glad that you figured out how creative you are, because we have all known this about you for a very long time, and you are incredibly creative. So what's something new that I've learned about myself? And I think that answer for me is simply to follow my bliss. Following my bliss is what I have learned I really want to do for myself. So simple as that. Dale, how about you?
Thank you, Gail. That was short and sweet. Goodness. Well, mine's a little bit on the I never knew that was a category, because I've recently I have a friend in my life who's, and I brought it up in the show yesterday, that Cheryl's show, someone who just is very much steeped in victimhood, and it really bothered me. And I realized, when something bothers us, that must mean that there's something inside of ourselves that's hitting that. And I really never saw myself as a victim, because I just don't feel like that's one of my primary presenting characteristics. But it opened the door for me to look at something inside of myself. And so what I did is, rather than seeing myself and looking at the word victim, I said, well, let's take a back door to that. And I thought, what does being a victim mean? It means I feel powerless. And that allowed me to see parts of my life where I do feel powerless temporarily. And it opened the door for me to really explore some inner depths. And the cool thing about this that I love is that once I got tuned into that, I stopped being bothered by my friend. It's like I felt love and compassion for her, because I realized the real problem was within myself. And I share this with you because it correlates with the topic that I've chosen to bring forward to everybody today. And the topic is how to find closure when life leaves you hanging. Because I know a lot of people most of us experience something in life where it takes us by surprise and we don't have the closure around the situation that we would really like to have. And so the question for us is, what do you do with that? And most often, I think a natural instinct for people, for all of us, is just to get reactive and upset and angry. And I'm not judging that, because that's how I would react. That's how I tend to react when that happens. But that initial reaction is what we can move into a greater healing experience around closure, and thinking we need to find it outside of ourselves, when really within ourselves we have all these resources that will allow us to create closure where there wasn't any. And so it's important for us to be able to see this idea of closure when we don't have it, to see that we have the power to actually create it, rather than leaving ourselves hanging for some sort of external thing to happen to create the closure that allows us to move forward in life. So really, to me, it's all about mindfulness. I think our common theme here is always a return to mindfulness, and to be able to understand our power to be able to move through any life experience and create peace out of it. And that's kind of where I want to pull our as far as my part of this talk, because I apologize to my beloveds here. I didn't give them any guidance. I just said, here's the topic, you go with it, because it was pretty clear what it is. So I'm really looking forward to see what they bring to the table. So for me, it's really all about mindfulness and taking responsibility for our closure. And I also want to say, please I'm not judging anything about the reactions that we have to situations, such as like somebody's premature departure from this plane of existence, the transition somebody has made, or a breakup, or somebody just like leaves your life, that's a part of your life, unexpectedly, and you have no opportunity to create some sort of final conversation. That this happens in life, and it's normal. And like I said, most of us have a reaction to it. So don't take this as don't react. But let's take a fuller approach to completing this circle of experience that happens when something shifts in our life abruptly and we feel we need closure. I just want to make sure that's clear. So when something happens outside of our control, and here I'm going to kind of dovetail into my experience that I brought to the table, we can get into a real victim consciousness, right? Why did this happen to me? Why did this person leave? Why did this situation happen? Poor me, this happened to me, and I'm helpless. I'm helpless and powerless. But the truth is that we are never helpless or powerless, because we have the power of our mind to use to be able to move through our experiences. And so where I tend to go with this is, and Cheryl, how beautiful that you talked about creativity. Our minds are creative, and I love that. I was in the same kind of field with you years ago about thinking I wasn't creative either, and because I saw creativity was all about art, painting, writing, all that stuff. And we learned from Science of Mind teaching that we are all creative beings. Everything we do is creative. We create the story of our lives. We create our perceptions. We create our life experiences. So it's really not, it's beyond art. I'll just put it that way. Although we are all artists in our own right. And so this creativity, this possibility, this energy we have within ourselves to bring forward any type of life experience is within all of us. And so for me, this whole idea of creating closure where there is none is a creative process for us to engage in, to be able to figure out what it is we need inside of ourselves to create that closure and that completion, no matter what the life experience is. And it really pulls us into stopping that fight with the experience and accept what it is, so that we can free ourselves to create space for healing to happen and closure to happen. And so, yes, it is an inside job. Krista, could you put up my slide, please? Today, I have a slide. So this slide is an acronym for you to use around closure. So I took the first letter of I chose the letters of closure, and I created a little pathway for us when we're needing closure in life. So the C is cease, the L is looking, the O is outside, and S is self. So that first part is cease looking outside of yourself. If we're expecting the closure to come from the external world, and it's not going to happen for whatever reasons. So we turn ourselves within, and that's where we come to the U. The U would be to understand understand what's happened, and understand actually more about what's going on inside of ourselves. What am I experiencing? What do I need from this situation? Really ask ourselves those questions. What do I need to feel closure around this? I need to understand me and what this situation has brought about, because sometimes these situations that happen to us where we don't have the closure, sometimes if they're really triggery and hot, they could be a repeated experience from the past. I'm going to give you an example. Somebody that I know, when we had our transition of leadership here, and Reverend Charles moved into a new direction, somebody came to me and said that they really needed closure, and they really needed to hear from him and what was going on. And I explained, that they could reach out, but maybe there's something within themselves that also needs to be tended to. And she realized that she had abandonment issues still that were still part of her. And that's what really got triggered. So very oftentimes these experiences bring forward something that's buried in the past that hasn't been fully resolved. So there's such a great opportunity to understand ourselves and unhealed parts of our past that might be triggered. And we don't need to go do psychoanalysis on this. I don't want you to think you have to go doing all this past work. It's just really about being present to what you're experiencing so that you can experience something different and take whatever healing you need to bring that about, whether it's working with a practitioner or just doing some journaling work. It's whatever works for you. So it's really about, the understanding is about understanding our feelings, what this is bringing up for us, what we need ourselves in order to bring ourselves to a place of love and coming back into wholeness, because it's really about what's going on inside of ourselves, not so much about the outer world, but what it's bringing up inside of ourselves. So that's why I bring up the word understanding. And also on top of that, there could be grief. I know Gail might be talking about that. I'm not sure, or somebody else might be, but there could be grief. Why did things happen like that? And I'll pull myself and do an example around that. My mom in 2004 had a really devastating stroke, and a lot of her frontal lobe was pretty much wiped out. And my mom was a really bright, just brilliant woman, and just lovely to get advice from. And when her stroke happened, it was like that she was gone pretty much as far as being able to be interactive. And it was a real experience for me is regarding closure, because it was like I would never be able to have another conversation with her again. So it's like this really important person in my life was no longer there in mind or in this physical realm so much like she was. And so I had to accept what was. There wasn't going to be the closure I wanted with her. And I just had to accept it, grieve what was no longer there, and allow for a new understanding within myself about how I can be at peace with it all and just move forward with who she was in her new place. So there's a lot that comes up with these experiences that leave us hanging. So asking ourselves these questions: what would I have liked to have happened here? What would have made me feel good? Getting clear on that. And what is the feeling the closure would bring to me? Once we get clear on that, then that points us in the direction of being able to bring those feelings into our own experience without having some sort of external experience of it. We can bring it within ourselves using whatever tools that we need. And so the next letter is R for responsibility. So how can I take responsibility? How can I attain the feeling of closure without having it to be the way I originally wanted it to? And there are things we can do. There's rituals that can be done, things that we can do that symbolically bring the closure. We can journal, we can write a letter to, if it's a person that's involved, write a letter to the person that allows the feeling and the experience of closure in that way. We can do forgiveness work, because I'll tell you, forgiveness a lot of time is a part of closure work. So that's something we can do. And also remember who we are. Remember truth. We're spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe that is run by the spiritual law of cause and effect. And when we remember that, we can come to a higher level of seeing what this is all about with a greater spiritual outlook to bring about a greater understanding. And just remember, what this is all about, that it's beyond the world of effects, the world of appearances, that there's a greater reality that we're all in, that we're traveling together, and to be able to see what we can find out in that, coming from that viewpoint. And so we can't control a lot of things in our lives. We got to accept that. There's a lot of stuff just not in our control. But what we can control is our reaction, our experiences, our responses to life. That's where it is. And it's great because in this day and age of where there's so much information about spirituality and life and life beyond this world and psychology and just emotional healing, there's so many great resources available to us to be able to use these resources for ourselves to be able to create closure and to create peace of mind no matter what's happened in life. And so my last letter is E for evolve. That for me, that's always the final outcome in any kind of healing work. We evolve, we transform, we become something greater than we were before the experience. And I know that I love that Gail oftentimes says these experiences that are disturbing for us and upsetting for us, those are the avenues in which we grow. And this time that we are human beings here on this planet, it really is all about evolution, and that's where our evolution happens in those experiences. So if we see situations that we are wanting closure as opportunities to evolve, we can approach them with greater ease, knowing that at the end of the journey, we have triumphed and learned something new about ourselves. So this whole thing about closure and taking it on as an inner growth and inner expansion and something we do within ourselves. It really opens the door for us to expand ourselves and to really learn about the power that we have. No matter what happens in life, the power we have to heal through anything when we use these resources that are available to us. All right, that's my starting point, everybody. Have at it.
Sorry. I just wanted to go from a different point of view here a little bit, not much, but closure. Why is it so important? Why is it that we have to have everything just neatly tied up in a little box? We have all the explanations. We know exactly what's going on. Now let's tie a ribbon around it and we can put it away. But life doesn't work that way. And so I think that sometimes what we're looking for closure in order to heal ourselves, we're looking, like Gail said so eloquently, that was beautiful, that we're looking outside of ourselves in order to have an answer that we need within ourselves. And so I think that sometimes when we look and we're so focused on closing a situation, that's when there's an opportunity for you to become a victim. If you don't have an answer, if you don't feel like you've completely understood what was going on around this situation, and you have to know what went on, you have to know why this happened, all of these things in order to feel better about the situation. But like you said, Dale, it's part of the evolution as well. When things happen in our lives, it's an opportunity for us to grow. And it just depends upon how we look at it. And so if you've got a situation that you never received closure around, are you still carrying it around and making it part of who you are? Are you becoming a victim of non-closure, in other words? So something happened, you had a bad relationship and you never knew what happened. Just one day you walked out the door and that was it. And, so does that define you or does that define that person? So sometimes you just have to stop and think, really, do I need to know the answers to everything that's going on here? Or am I willing to just leave this open and just know there is no explanation? But going within myself, I just know it had nothing to do with me. It is that person's journey, and I just have to honor it. So I may never know the answer, but it doesn't allow me just to sit back and become a victim of a situation and then wait for it to happen again. Oh, that's the great one. Being a victim is always sitting there waiting for life to come and smack you down again. That to me, and listen, I was a professional victim, so I know what I'm talking about. But in other words, everything that occurs in your life, you just stop and you look at it and you think, oh, well, I know what's going to happen because this is what happened before. And then it turns out just that way. And you feel, oh, wow, I really have power over my life because I knew it was going to be like this, and it is. But you created that. You created that. So sometimes I swear, this is my favorite thing to do now. Step back. Just step back far enough to where you get some perspective around it, and also to understand that what other people do and whatever's occurring outside of you or in somebody else's life, you can't have what I call inappropriate expectations of them. Whatever they're going to do, they're doing. They're on their path. Now, are you going to let them rock you and knock you off of your path because of something that they've created? That's when you got to step back and say, I might never know the answer to this, but it's okay. I'm just going to let it go. Wow, what a thought. We don't have that little box all tied up in a bow, and we can neatly put it away into our consciousness now and say, okay, that's all solved. But sometimes that's just not the way it turns out. But I think that is what makes you grow. When you start taking responsibility and knowing, I have nothing to do with this. This is this person's journey. Cool, fine, go, run with it. But it doesn't have to pull me into it. So I believe that William's going to go right after me.
I tell you what, ladies, both of you and your explanation of this topic today is wonderful. I'm also going to have, now we're going to have a third view or a third point of view. And this is one thing I love about Science of Mind, is that it forces me to take responsibility for myself. And so as things happen that come up and that are unexpected, yes, you could play that victim card. Why did it happen to me? But I look back on my life with gratitude about everything. And that's the key, I think. And I'm sure, I hope I don't take too many bullet points from Gail, but gratitude for me. Cheryl and I kind of grew up the same in the fact that we're a military family. And I'm only telling you this because this is where the gratitude comes from. Every so often, we're just up and move, boom, done. New place, new house, new city, new life, new everything. So closure is commonplace for someone like me and possibly Cheryl, because we've dealt with it our whole life. Mm-hmm. So here's where the gratitude comes into play. I have memories of with the friends that I had at that time. And so when I feel sad or feel depressed about where I am now, I can reflect upon what my experience was, and for that moment be able to lift my spirits, knowing that I did it once, I can obviously do it again. Now, as an adult, I had a belief about marriage and about family, and when I was growing up, I was going to be the consummate bachelor, because I didn't want to go through the whole get married, and I've been through a couple of divorces as a child, and I never wanted to go through that. So when that did happen, out of the blue, it was very devastating, because I thought about, okay, I just now did to my kids what had been done to me, and that was the whole reason why I didn't want to go through the institution and stuff like that. However, again, the gratitude of having my boys. I would go through hellfire for those. And that's where the gratitude comes into play. I have the gratitude of having two wonderful young men, but more importantly, going through that unexpectedly, it caused us an armament in the fact that this is what I'm going to do now as a parent. I am going to be there to shape and mold and show love, compassion, be truthful about where I made my mistakes, and tell them, I love it. I'm not going to tell you what to do, But if it was me, that is my favorite line. And I got that from my mother. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if it was me, and man, I tell you what, so often. And then years later, Dad, you were right. I should have listened to you. But anyway, getting back to moving through things that come up unexpectedly or come out of nowhere. It truthfully is coming from gratitude and reflecting upon the memories, because those memories can be one of just pure joy that bring you up. But what I love about my path, and I would not change my life at all, because I recognize that everything has brought me to this seat today. And I don't, and I'm not the type of person that believes in, letting go of the baggage, or Dr. Joe says, you can bury the hatchet, but we know where it's buried. No, I have that baggage, what some people call, but I just prefer to call them memories, because as a practitioner, I need to come from a point of understanding about someone's particular situation, not to tell them how to fix their problems, because we all know everything's an inside job. Every person has the answer within them to find the solution for their problems. But we as practitioners, it's our job to reveal that truth to our client, or to you, the viewer, or the audience. But by having that experience, whether it's great or whether it's unexpected, it's still a memory upon which I can draw from to have the right words to say at the right time. But the beautiful thing about it is, I don't even know that I'm saying it. Things come into my head as I'm talking with somebody that's going through something, and I have no clue how I was able to retrieve a particular memory that allows me to have the words to open that person's eye and maybe see their situation differently. So the idea of dealing with unexpected life and situations is truly gratitude, having the memory and the experience of your total life to be able to understand where you are, and then walk away from that, or not walk away. How about let's do this. Grow from that situation with more love and compassion in your heart. Now I cannot wait to hear what Gail has to say. So Gail, here you go.
Thank you, William. And I just love hearing all these really varied thoughts on the same topic. So I'm going to go 4 for 4 and just share a little bit of my thoughts that are a little bit different than everyone else's shared. So, when I saw our topic today was how to create closure when life leaves you hanging. As I thought about it, something was just not clicking for me. There was some kind of a disconnect. And I finally realized that for me to answer this question, I had to change it to simply be how to create closure. Because what really jumped out to me is that I really don't experience life ever leaving me hanging. For me, life leaves you hanging kind of feels like there's something outside of me that is imposing itself. When what I've experienced is that closure is when I become at ease with the fact that things have changed. So things change, right? We all experience that. And it's always interesting to see our reaction or our response to the changes that we experience. And what I found is that typically my reaction is based on fear. When life circumstance changes, we often experience an intensity of feelings, right? But it's interesting how, when I really think about it, that intense feeling often really has nothing to do with what has changed. Often it has a lot to do with fear. So many of you, if not all of you, have recently gone through fundamental shifts in every area of your life over the last year. Some of you have lost loved ones during the pandemic. Some of you might have lost your job, maybe your financial security. Maybe you lost a sense of safety. No matter where you are in this life, the one constant is change itself. And that being said, who you are never changes. That's the one thing that never changes, who you are. And peace is and always will be your natural state of being. So with this explanation, I kind of repeat my definition of what I experience as closure, which is really becoming at peace with the fact that things have changed. So instead of the word closure, I might suggest acceptance of your reality. The more we get to a place where we're able to accept our reality, the more we begin to see that there is something greater unfolding. And that's the key, because there always is. So thank you for letting me share. And I think Dale is ready to jump back in.
Thank you. I love this, right? Dr. James will be so proud of us because we've each brought our different point of view in. Krista, could you put the quote that you just quoted, that you just put up there, just so we can share it? So Cautious Specimen says, we project our shadow on the world. When we recognize that we have a chance to evolve and release the past. And I think that really is is such a big part of what we're discussing today is that we do. I mean, it's all about projection really anyways. And so when we're saying it's actually the world out there and we were thinking it's not us, that actually robs us of our healing opportunities. So thank you, Cautious Specimen. When we realize it's our projection, then we can heal it. As you say, we can evolve and release the past, because that's really what is coming back into play when we have this. So thank you for that. I just want to bring love in. Because I think a lot of love is such a wonderful healing energy to slip into. And these experiences, these abrupt change experiences that we're really speaking to, that where closure becomes something that it's what we're discussing today, but it really is acceptance. Thank you, Gail. It is really about acceptance and coming back to peace. And to me, when I just tune into that love and meditate on love and do things that I love, it is such a healing balm to be able to understand and move through these experiences where, and I will say it like this, where we think we need something called closure, because I love what's kind of evolving here, that it's really about, it's not about the experience. It's really not about needing something outside of ourselves to happen to make ourselves feel good. It's about us needing to come back into knowing who we are, knowing that we are that energy of love that is everywhere present. And when we realize that what has happened has actually opened something up about ourselves, then we can heal and heal through love and forgiveness. So who's going to go now? I don't see anybody on there. Who wants? Cheryl? I know Cheryl. Yeah.
Finally, I got the mute button, unmute button. The one, that was what you're saying, is that the real truth in this is there's no such thing really as closure. That's what's really cool about this topic, is that we are looking for something that doesn't exist. We just have to, like Gail said, just find that peace within. Every one of us has had a different point of view, and I just love it because they all just kind of intertwine, though. They all come back to the wholeness that we are within ourselves. We have the ability to create our perception of the world, or our perspective of the world. And so it's all within us. So whatever's going on outside of us, it really has no effect on us, even though we allow it sometimes. We think we're allowing it, but as spiritual beings, we're the observers. We're the ones that is looking at our lives and seeing, are we going to look at it as, well, I never had closure with my mom. And that's one of my things. My mom died when I was 27 years old, and we just never got along. We just didn't get along. And I think that, and so for me, when she died, I think that the hardest thing was the fact that I always had somewhere in the back of my mind that one day my mom and I would come together and we would be in total harmony, and that everything would be cool, and we'd sing Kumbaya, and we'd be so happy, and we'd be mom and daughter like I had the expectation of it being. And that was never going to happen now. And so what could I do? Could I sit there and go, oh gosh, poor me, you know, I had this and I had that and all this. But the reality was that that was the closure, that that's just one of those things that was never going to change. And so could I walk around for the rest of my life and feel like, oh, my mom and, you know, that, no. That's when you go into victimhood. When you think you don't have closure and you keep just rehashing and rehashing and rehashing it until it, you know, I actually know people that becomes who they are. They become a natural born or a self-created victim. And so sometimes that's why I was saying it doesn't come in a neat little package sometimes. Sometimes you just have to walk away and say, okay, this is the way it was. Now, what do I do now? Where do I move forward from here? What's my life now? Am I going to allow this to define and become who I am? Am I going to become a victim? Or am I just going to say, okay, I'm never going to have closure around this subject. I am never going to know what could have been. I just know what was. So that's when I have to say, okay, this package will remain open. But it doesn't mean I have to go and live inside that box. So anyway, who's going to go next? Oh, it's going to be William.
Yes. As you were talking, it brought up a question for me. And so I would like to ask Gail this. Oh, shoot. Now can I remember? Oh, darn it. It just left me free. Give me a second. It was, the idea of closure, especially now with what we've been dealing with over the past 12 months, is the closure is, who am I now? You know, this person that I have loved, it may have been my partner, it may have been my wife, it may have been my husband, it may have been my child, grandfather, whoever. But it is a question that a lot of people ask themselves is who am I? It came to me that you are enough. But I want to know from Gail, because she deals with grief and stuff like that. Is that a question that comes up to where part of when you get something happen like this, is there a question like, what do I do now? Who am I now? Is that part of the grieving process, Gail?
Yes, William, it really is. I think what I hear you saying is really referencing identity. And what happens when we lose someone or something that is very key, near and dear part of our lives, what happens is our identity around that person or that thing or that situation changes. Oftentimes there's parts of your identity that are no longer there. So maybe you were a caregiver to your mother and you spent a lot of time and love caregiving your mother, and then your mother made her transition. Part of your identity was being that caregiver, and that is no longer part of your identity. So it can be very confusing for people, because the reason that they feel so confused is that the person that they thought they were and how they lived their lives has completely changed. We do an exercise in our Beyond Grief that really illustrates this, where people use a paper plate and they identify pieces of the pie, so to speak, on their paper plate that was their identity right before they had a big loss. And then we end up cutting the pieces of the pie to cut out those pieces of identity that are no longer exist after that loss. And it really is telling for people, because they recognize there's a reason that I feel this way. Now, the paper plate is still full and round. It's just now full and round with different things. And then as you make the transition through this situation and evolve into that next greatest yet to be, that is you, then that plate starts to look again even different. And so we have some adjustment to make there too, to some of the new identities that we have now grown into. So that was a wonderful question, William. I hope that I answered it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Gail. So the point is, guess what, people? You are enough. But it's the gratitude of that life experience. Your paper plate has now changed. It's almost become one of those type of cups. If you were to take out that little wedge, but bring it back together, it forms a cup. Wow, I'm getting some bumps on my arm right now. But the beautiful thing is, everyone, is that regardless, you are enough. But now you get to take this experience, this moment of grief and unsuredness in your life, and bring that forward to you. Just like I was talking about earlier about all my life experiences. Now you have that life experience so that when you see someone who is going through something that you have been through, you can show them compassion and understanding to help them through this transitional period. Because that is all what life is. What every one of us has said here, all of life is nothing but a continual transition of experience. And how wonderful to be able to be at my age with everything that I've experienced, to have all of that baggage, but I don't look at it as baggage. I look at it as experiences that shows how much I've grown, so that I may offer my knowledge of life experience to others. And that's the beautiful thing. And that is the wonderful gift about this whole transitional period that we're going through. And I want to thank Dale for bringing up such a wonderful topic, because this puts in my face the fact that every day I have gratitude for my life. And when I have gratitude for my life, I have gratitude for everyone around me. Now, with that said, who would like to go next? Okay, Dale, it's your turn.
Thank you. Just a parting comments. It's weird. I can't believe our hour is gone so fast almost. So just I'll say this, Cheryl, we got to thank you to you. Having that in my life now, his mom is just that I finally, well, I can't quite understand, but it looks like he really got something from your comment, as did a couple other people. And hi, Lisa Hadley. I saw that you're getting a lot out of our show today as well. I just want to acknowledge our viewers. So for me, I just want to emphasize this idea of holding lightly to our life experiences, because a lot of what was bringing to the table today was about these stories of our lives. And when the storyline doesn't happen the way we thought it did, that's where our growth really happens, to be able to accept the story as it is unfolding and to find the good. There's always something to be garnered from our life experiences of the unexpected, and to be able to see that, kind of going back to creativity, we're always in that creative flow, that creative energy within ourselves. And when things don't turn out the way we planned and we're feeling disconnected or out of sorts, we always have the ability to bring forward that energy that brings forth something new out of whatever is before us. That's where our creative urge really comes in so powerfully in our lives, to really use it, not just for painting the picture, but for creating our lives out of whatever has come to be. We always have that within ourselves to create a world of new possibilities, no matter what we've experienced. And so now I'm going to pass it to Gail to close us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dale, for those beautiful, really very concise closing comments. And I'm wondering if Cheryl or William, do you have any closing comments? Cheryl?
I just wanted to say that if you get an opportunity to take Gail's grief workshop, it is a life changer. I know that it has made me a better practitioner just from experiencing what she taught. So hopefully sometime soon she'll be able to conduct that workshop again, but it is massively great because it shows you how your life unfolds and how you carry grief from situations forward, and how, you feel like sometimes when you finish cutting up your plate, you've got one little strip left, and how you're going to make a circle out of that, So it's really very important. If you get a chance, please do it. Sorry about the plug there, Gail, and putting you on the hot seat, but it was fabulous. So thank you.
Well, Cheryl, thank you very much, and everyone, for really such a juicy topic today. So I'm going to jump now in with announcements and then close with a benediction. So join us every day at 10 a.m. for another amazing program. Check out our website for further details. Thursday, it's Dr. Laura and her book study. And Friday rounds out the week with Spirituality at Ground Level with our very own Jeff Harrison. Every Saturday at 10 a.m., join us for guided meditation, followed by our Sunday service live at 10 a.m. So what if you're busy at 10 a.m.? Well, we've got you covered. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for easy access to all of our programs at your convenience. Next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m., please join me for Master Your Mind. Sleep like a log. Your opportunity to become a master sleeper and a master at relaxation with all of its benefits. Come away with 2 unique forms of meditation that are exactly what you've been waiting for. And outside of our 10 a.m. shows, join us Wednesday at 8 a.m. for our Power of 8 group, and Thursday at 5 p.m. for our Social 8, hosted by our very own Cheryl and William. As you can tell, we have a lot going on at the center, and we really appreciate your financial support to continue providing all of this quality programming to each and every one of you. So with this exciting week in store, I'm going to close our program out with a benediction. So I invite you now to consider closing your eyes, opening your palms up, and take a long, deep, cleansing breath. Resting in the awareness of your breath, I declare this space as sacred. I declare this room as sacred space, and I declare each heart as connected with the ground of all beingness. I am grateful each heart today has been a vessel to grow, to heal, and to find new definitions and new understanding of life, of love, and of spirit. As I bless each friend forward in peace, in blessings and joy, I celebrate a commitment to open hearts a little more each day and feel closer and closer to that infinite presence. I close this community in gratitude for the blessings that I feel, for the healings, for the insight and wisdom, for the harmony and the peace of mind, knowing each person here continues to unfold in infinite ways. Please join me in saying, and so it is. Amen.